Welcome to another frictionless podcast where work, management and education collide. Today's podcast is about the increasingly important subject of motivation. Motivating people at work and helping them become engaged in what they do is a major challenge for management today. The average percentage of people who say that they feel engaged at work has hovered around 23 to 27% mark for several decades, despite many changes in the way leaders work with their employees. Unfortunately, the trend in education is also a downward spiral of engagement. Gallup shows less than half of students at 6th grade and only a third of high school students are engaged. Other studies show an alarming 27% actually state that they are actively disengaged. To date, motivation theory has been a fallback for leaders and teachers to help find ways of engaging their employees or students. This podcast looks at a range of popular motivation theories to help make sense of what they are, how they work, and are they valid today. This latter point is the subject of a more detailed discussion in a separate podcast. You can find the link below. Before we dive into the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Your support helps us to keep these conversations going. For those of you who are interested in more detail about the various motivation theories and how they work, you will find them on my YouTube channel, Frictionless Management and Organizations, in the link below. Enough talking, let's start the podcast.
All right, so let's take a deep dive into this mountain of information on motivation theory. Looks like we've got quite the mix, huh? A bit of history, some different approaches to understanding motivation, even some tips for boosting productivity and job satisfaction. This will be interesting.
It really is. It's funny how we talk about motivation as if it's this thing you can just see, but it's not. It's like this force.
True. We infer it from behavior.
Yeah.
But even that can be tough. Let's just start with the basics. Why do people work? Just for that paycheck?
Well, yeah, that's a factor. But Dr. Reg Butterfield makes a good point that there's often something deeper, that connection to values, wanting to fulfill certain needs. Like, why else would someone, spend years training for a super demanding career if it wasn't fulfilling on some level?
Right. Makes sense. We're not just robots. So
Yeah.
Someone can be satisfied in their job but not actually be motivated, right?
Exactly. You can be content, but still lack that drive, the push to excel, innovate, improve.
Okay. So how did we even get to this whole concept of motivation? Where'd these theories even come from?
Well, going way back, one of the earliest attempts to figure out motivation in the workplace was Frederick Taylor's scientific management approach. He was all about efficiency, optimizing workflows, kind of like a assembly line kind of thing.
Sounds kind of rigid. Things got a little more complex over time, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. The Hawthorne experiments really changed things. Remember the Hawthorne effect? People change their behavior just because they're being watched. That challenged the whole, mechanistic view of motivation, showed how important social factors are, and individual psychology,
The power of feeling seen. So that's where content versus process theories come in, right?
Right. Think of content theories as the what, like what actually motivates people, those internal drivers, needs, desires, goals. And then process theories are more like the how, like the psychological and behavioral processes that lead to action.
Okay, so content is the why, process is the how. Got it. Let's talk about process theories first, maybe.
Right.
Vroom's expectancy theory always seemed kind of cool. All about expectations and outcomes, right?
Exactly. It suggests people are motivated when they believe their effort will lead to good performance, and that good performance will be rewarded, and that the reward is something they actually value. He called those expectancy, instrumentality, and valence.
So, if you're working on some big project, you believe that if you put in the effort, you'll do a great job, and your boss will recognize that with a promotion, and that promotion is something you really, really want. It's Vroom.
Right. You see that connection between your effort and a specific outcome, and that outcome is super important to you. All three elements need to be strong for motivation to, take off.
What if one of those is weak? You put in the effort, but you don't think you can achieve the outcome?
That's when motivation starts to kind of go downhill if you don't think your effort will lead to the performance you need, or that the performance won't be rewarded, or that the reward just isn't that great.
Like, what's in it for me?
Exactly. We weigh the costs and benefits, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's switch to another process theory, Adam's equity theory, all about fairness and how we compare ourselves to others at work.
Oh, so if I'm working my butt off and getting paid peanuts while my coworker's coasting and making bank, I'm going to be pretty demotivated, right?
You got it. It's not just about what we get, but how it compares to what others are getting for their effort. And we usually compare ourselves to those we think are similar to us, referent others.
So even if I'm making a decent salary, seeing someone else get a bigger raise for less effort,
Yeah.
that triggers that, like, inequity feeling.
Absolutely. It can lead to resentment, low motivation, and even actions to try and restore that sense of fairness.
It makes sense. Kind of like keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm.
We compare ourselves to others, whether we realize it or not. Which brings us to another process theory, one that's used a lot in performance management. Locke's goal-setting theory.
Yes. Locke and Latham's research found that setting goals that are specific and challenging leads to higher performance than, just vague or easy goals.
So just saying do your best just doesn't cut it. You have to give people clear targets. But I mean, there are lots of types of goals. How do you make sure they're motivating?
Well, that's where those 5 goal-setting principles come in. Clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity.
Break those down for me.
Sure. So clarity means the goal has to be clear, easy to understand. Challenge means stretching someone's abilities, but still achievable. Commitment means the person has to buy into it, actually want to achieve it. Feedback is super important. Monitoring progress, making adjustments. And then task complexity. That's about breaking down big goals into smaller, manageable sub-goals.
So you have to have a specific goal. That's challenging, something people are invested in. And you have to give them support and feedback to succeed. This is where SMART goals come in.
You got it. SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. It's a way to apply those principles, make sure goals are well-defined, actionable.
Okay, so we've covered 3 process theories: expectancy theory, equity theory, and goal-setting theory. Now, what about content theories? Maslow's hierarchy of needs is probably the most famous, right? I remember that pyramid from psychology class.
It's a classic. It's been debated, but the core idea is that we have a hierarchy of needs, starting with basic physiological stuff, food, shelter. Then it moves up to safety, belonging, esteem, and finally self-actualization.
Yeah, you're climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
Fulfilling those lower level needs before you can even think about personal growth, fulfillment. But does it always work like that?
Well, it's the basic idea, but it's not always linear. Think of a struggling artist. They might prioritize self-actualization and creative expression over material needs.
Starving artist, right? Sacrificing comfort and stability to pursue their passion doesn't really fit the rigid hierarchy. But I guess the takeaway is you have to understand people's needs to really motivate them.
Absolutely. And that's where some of these other content theories come in handy. For example, McGregor's theory X and theory Y focuses on how managerial beliefs about their employees shape their leadership style.
Oh, yeah. Theory X and theory Y. It's that whole thing where if you believe people are inherently lazy and need to be micromanaged, you lead in a certain way, which might actually create a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Theory X managers think people hate work, need to be controlled. Theory Y managers think people are naturally motivated and they seek responsibility.
So a Theory X manager is more likely to use rewards and punishments, and a Theory Y manager is going to focus on creating a more empowering environment.
Yeah.
More collaborative. But which one's right?
Well, it's not really about right or wrong. Both highlight aspects of human behavior. It's just fascinating how a manager's beliefs can actually influence how employees behave.
If you treat a man as he is, he will remain as he is. But if you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be.
Exactly. Have you heard of Alderfer's ERG theory? It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy, but with 3 categories: existence, relatedness, and growth.
ERG, yeah. I think I read that it's more flexible than Maslow. What's the big difference?
The main thing is that ERG theory says multiple needs can be active at the same time, not a rigid ladder, you know?
So I could be looking for belonging at work while also want like professional growth. That's
Yeah.
definitely more realistic. What about those specific needs? Existence, relatedness, growth, examples at work.
Of course. Existence needs are those basic ones. Stable income, safe working conditions, job security. Relatedness needs are all about social connections at work, positive relationships with colleagues, feeling like you belong on a team. And then growth needs, they're all about personal and professional development, you know? Learning new skills, taking on challenges, feeling a sense of accomplishment.
This is starting to come together. It's not just one need at a time. It's about how they all work together. What about this frustration regression thing? What's that?
Oh, yeah. The frustration regression principle, it says that if those higher level needs like growth or relatedness are blocked, we might focus back on those lower level existence needs, looking
Yeah.
for comfort and security when those higher needs feel out of reach.
So if I'm feeling stuck,
Yeah.
dead-end job, no advancement, I might start worrying about getting a raise or better benefits, even though that won't like truly fulfill me.
Exactly. We look for satisfaction wherever we can get it, even if it's not the most fulfilling in the long run. Managers really need to understand this.
Yeah, for addressing like low morale, disengagement.
Yeah.
Can't always just throw money at the problem. Sometimes it's about addressing those deeper needs for growth, connection. And speaking of which, we got to talk about McClelland's need theory. Focuses on those three dominant needs, right? Power, achievement, and affiliation.
That's it. He believed those three, in varying degrees, are major drivers of how we act.
Look, break them down for me. How do they like play out at work?
Sure. So people with a high need for power, they're motivated by influence control. They might, do well in leadership roles, positions where they can have a big impact.
Like CEOs, politicians, that super competitive salesperson who's always trying to be number one.
Right. But there's a difference between personal power, which is, about controlling others, and institutional power, using power for the good of the whole organization.
Okay. Important difference. What about achievement? Those are like the go-getters. for me.
Yes, they thrive in environments where they can set challenging goals. They love a good challenge.
Entrepreneurs, athletes, researchers, anyone driven by accomplishment, mastery. What about affiliation? The team players, the ones who want collaboration, harmony.
Exactly. They're motivated by building relationships, maintaining them. They need to feel like they belong, connect. They're often the glue that holds teams together.
Social workers, therapists, teachers, anyone in helping professions. It's amazing how understanding those dominant needs can help you understand people's behavior. You can even predict how they might like thrive in different roles.
It's a great tool for managers, for hiring, building teams, even structuring tasks. But of course, it's these are just tendencies. Not everyone fits neatly into one category.
Right, we're all a mix. Speaking of mixing things up, let's talk about Herzberg's two-factor theory. All about hygiene factors and motivators, right? Kind of a different approach.
Yes. Herzberg, he made a distinction between hygiene factors, things that cause dissatisfaction if they're not met, and motivators, which actually lead to satisfaction and motivation.
Interesting. Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Hygiene factors are the basics, like salary, job security, working conditions, company policies, even relationships with supervisors. If they're lacking, it's going to create dissatisfaction.
So those are like the prerequisites.
Yeah.
You need them, but they
Right.
don't necessarily make people like love their job. What about the motivators? Those are the things that get people excited.
Exactly. Things like achievement, recognition, responsibility, challenging work, opportunities for growth. The work itself, they tap
Yeah.
into intrinsic motivation, make us feel accomplished, fulfilled.
So many companies focus on those hygiene factors, like offering great salaries, benefits, but they don't really address those motivators. They're trying to prevent dissatisfaction, but not really create like a motivating environment.
That's a great point. Herzberg argued that addressing those hygiene factors gets rid of dissatisfaction, but doesn't necessarily create motivation. It's like taking away a pain point, but not creating a joy point.
So to really motivate people, you have to go beyond just fixing the basics. You got to create enriching and engaging work environments where people feel valued, challenged, inspired. Herzberg talked about techniques for doing this, right? Job enrichment, enlargement, employee empowerment.
Yes. Job enrichment means giving people more challenging tasks, letting them use their skills. Job enlargement gives them more variety in their tasks, which can reduce boredom and increase their sense of ownership. And then employee empowerment is all about giving people more autonomy, more decision-making power.
Those are fantastic strategies. It's not about perks and benefits. It's about designing work that is inherently rewarding, challenging.
That's it. Create an environment where people can thrive, reach their potential.
We've covered so much. History of motivation theory, all these influential models. It's clear there's no one-size-fits-all. It's about understanding individual needs, adapting strategies, and creating a workplace that supports well-being and high performance. How do all these theories translate into, like, practical advice for leaders and managers? What can they do to boost motivation in their teams?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll cover in the next part of our deep dive. It's amazing how these theories, even though a lot of them were developed so long ago, they're still relevant today, in the workplace. They really give you a framework to understand not just yourself, but the people you work with too.
Like a toolkit for decoding human behavior, right? But, I mean, there are so many theories. Where do you even start to actually, like, use them? It can feel kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, that's where critical thinking comes in. You're not going to find like one magic theory that explains everything, right? Each one offers insights into specific parts of motivation.
So instead of trying to use every theory all the time, you should be more strategic. Like, how do you know which theories are, like, most relevant?
Right. Think about it like this. If you're a manager and you're trying to motivate your team, you might start by thinking about your own beliefs about people and work. Do you lean more towards theory X or theory Y? Are you creating a culture that, that encourages trust, autonomy, growth? Or are you more focused on rewards and punishments?
Okay, yeah. So be self-aware as a leader. Understand how your own assumptions and behaviors might be affecting your team's their motivation.
Exactly. And then you can really try to understand the needs and motivations of each person on your team. Are they driven by achievement? Or affiliation, power? What are their goals? What kind of work really gets them going? What do they expect in terms of effort, performance, and rewards?
So take a personalized approach, because what motivates one person might not work for someone else. Right?
Yeah.
Right. No one size fits all. This is where those content theories like Maslow and Alderfer can really come in handy. They remind us that people are motivated by a whole mix of needs. And those needs can change over time, right? They can be different for different people.
So a new employee might be focused on those basic needs.
Yeah.
Stable income, job security, comfortable work environment. But someone with more experience, they might be looking for more responsibility, chances to grow, maybe even a chance to have a bigger impact.
Right. And being aware of that as a manager means you can, change your approach. For a new employee, it might be about setting clear expectations, giving regular feedback and chances to learn new skills. But for someone with more experience, it might be about, offering leadership opportunities, challenging assignments, or even the chance to mentor others.
And this ties back to Vroom too, right?
Yeah.
It's not enough to, like, offer rewards. People need to believe that their effort will actually lead to those rewards. The rewards need to be something they actually want.
Exactly. If those links between effort, performance, and reward are broken, their motivation is going to, take a hit. So it's about setting clear expectations, giving them what they need to succeed, and recognizing and rewarding good performance in ways that are meaningful.
And we can't forget Herzberg, right? You need those motivators, the things that get people excited about their work. It's not just about a decent salary, good conditions, fair treatment. You got to create work environments that offer chances for achievement, recognition, growth, and a sense of meaning.
Absolutely. Remember those techniques we talked about, job enrichment, enlargement, empowerment. They can really boost motivation, create a more engaging work experience.
So instead of just giving someone a bigger paycheck or a fancy title, you might give them more challenging projects, more autonomy, a chance to lead a team or mentor other people.
Exactly. It's about thinking outside the box, make work more intrinsically rewarding. It's not always about external rewards. It's about those internal drivers, the needs and desires that make us feel, fulfilled and engaged in our work.
Can't forget about feedback. It seems like it's important for so many of these theories. Keeps people on track, recognizes their progress, gives them guidance.
Absolutely. Regular feedback, both positive and constructive, can really help create a culture of improvement. Helps people feel valued. It's
Hmm.
also a key part of those goal setting frameworks we discussed. Remember, without regular feedback, it's hard to know if you're on the right track or making progress towards your goals. That can be really demotivating.
This has been really insightful. We've gone deep into these theories, but what about the bigger picture? Culture, society,
Yeah.
even our own values. They all play a role in what motivates us.
That's a great point, and it's something we'll definitely explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
It really is interesting to think about how those individual needs and motivations are shaped by the larger context, like
Hmm.
culture, societal values, even our own beliefs. It's like those theories are the base, but the environment adds like all these layers.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to understand a plant without thinking about the soil it's in. The sunlight,
Mhm.
the climate, all those external things affect how it
You
grows.
can't just look at motivation on its own, right? You got to think about the big picture, like how do cultural differences affect motivation?
Oh, culture has a huge impact. What motivates people in one culture might not work, somewhere else. For instance, in some collective cultures, like the need for affiliation and group harmony might be more important than individual achievement. So a reward system that's all about, individual performance might not be as effective.
That's a good point. Those theories we talked about, they offer insights, but you got to adapt them, use them carefully in different cultures. Can't assume a one-size-fits-all approach will work everywhere.
Exactly. And this kind of brings us to societal values and norms. What a society values, what it rewards, that's going to influence what people want.
So if a society values material wealth and status, people might be more motivated by financial success, luxury goods, career advancement. But in a society that prioritizes community and social justice, people might be more driven by making a difference.
Right. And those values can change over time, too. It's, always evolving.
Makes you think about the whole intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation debate. Is it always a battle between what we like to do and what we're rewarded for doing?
That's a great question. I don't think it's a simple battle. Ideally, you want to find work and activities that you actually enjoy, things that are rewarding in themselves. But let's be real, not every task in life is going to be fun and exciting.
So sometimes you need those external motivators, like a
Yeah.
paycheck, a bonus, or even just the feeling of getting something tough done that can help you, get through the boring stuff.
For sure. We all need to push sometimes, right? Even if the work itself isn't that interesting. And sometimes those external motivators can actually like spark internal interest, like a student who starts studying just for grades, but then discovers a real passion for the subject.
It's true. It's not always so black and white, what we should do versus what we want to do. Sometimes those lines get blurry.
Right. And that leads us to our own values and beliefs. What we find motivating is it's shaped by what we think is important, meaningful.
So, like, if I value creativity and innovation, I'm going to be drawn to work that lets me express those things. And if I value helping others, I might be more motivated by opportunities to make a positive impact, even if it means making less money.
Exactly. Our values are like a compass. They point us towards the things that really matter to us. When our work aligns with our value, it's not just a job anymore. It's more like a calling.
This has been an incredible journey. We've learned so much: the history of motivation theory, the key theories and how they work, and even how things like culture, societal values, our own beliefs, how they all play a role.
It really has. It's amazing to think that even with all the research and theories, motivation is still kind of mysterious. There's always more to learn, more to discover about what makes us tick.
And that's what's so cool about it. It's a journey of discovery for ourselves and for others. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question. How can we align our actions with our values in our own lives?
Ah,
How can we create work environments, build relationships, and build communities that tap into those deeper motivations and inspire us to be our best selves?
that's a great question, and it's one that's really worth exploring. The great thing about this field is we're not just studying theories, you know? We're really exploring what makes us human.
And on that note, we'll leave you to think about those questions. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of motivation theory.